Bien, muchas gracias. Muy buenos días a todos. Muy amables por este sábado. Damos el tiempo para charlar un poquito. Me presento rápidamente y presento a mis compañeros. Yo soy Luis Vega, soy el Territory Manager de SUSE Software Solutions aquí en Guadalajara. SUSE es una empresa de hace muchos años desarrollando open source, impulsando el open source empresarial. Somos de origen alemán. Tenemos 32 años de existir. Hace un poco más de un año decidimos abrir la operación en México por la importancia que tiene y participamos mucho en los proyectos de open source, en proyectos de Kubernetes. De hecho, adquirimos Rancher Laboratories para impulsar las soluciones de Kubernetes. ¿Quién de ustedes desarrolla algo en Kubernetes o hace algún proyecto en Kubernetes o algo? Que levanten la mano, sin pena, sin pena. Muy bien, dejen la mano levantada, un segundo. Volten a ver a la persona que está al lado de ustedes, que levantó la mano, véanlo, porque están viendo el futuro. Esa persona que está sentado al lado que levantó la mano es el futuro de la tecnología. El futuro se llama Kubernetes. Y hoy queremos platicar en SUSE sobre ese futuro y cómo estamos ayudando a empujarlo para que el mundo aproveche lo que ustedes están haciendo. Déjenme darle la bienvenida a mi buen amigo Brent Schroeder y a Brian Martínez. Brent es nuestro Chief Technology Officer para Américas, es el gurú de tecnología de nosotros. Y le doy la bienvenida aquí a Guadalajara. Brent, thank you to be in Mexico. Welcome.
Thanks, everyone. I'm very excited to be here. Wow, that's much louder. And I just actually I really enjoy that part of the job is getting out and talking to customers. And I always tell people that the very first thing I want to do is listen to understand, because the technical part of my role is about marrying customer problems with technology and working with the product group on how we're going to put that in product to meet customer needs. I would like a show of hands of, in the most community type events, there's a mix of companies that are vendors and community members building the product. And then there's the consumers, those receiving the product, utilizing it and taking advantage. So how many are from the vendor and community ecosystem in the room? A few, okay. And the rest, I guess you'd raise your hands as you're the companies that are consuming what we produce. Very good. So hopefully actually I'm going to talk almost nothing about SUSE products. I want to talk about the problems and what we as the community, how we think about it and look at it and help address your problems. A little bit about our journey that we've been on the last couple of decades, and a little glimpse into what I think the next problem is that we need to work on as a community, and ask the vendors and the consumers to collaborate on that. And that's the notion of the power of open. And I'll talk a little bit about what the power of open enables. This is me getting off of the plane. This is almost how much luggage I typically travel with. I'm an athlete in my spare time, and so I carry enough clothes to work out, all my supplements and all my shoes, and so yeah, I do not travel light. And it costs me once in a while when they lose my bag and it ends up in the wrong city, and I go to the nearest convenience store to get shampoo and toothpaste and everything. Find a place to buy some socks and clothes and such. But so you get off the airplane, and it's okay. I got to go get my car. Here's my standard car that I've got rented, and I'm Presidential Club on the rental car companies, and so hey, we've got an upgrade for you. I'm like, oh, I love sports cars. I like fast and cornering and bright red and all of these things. And then I look at my bags sitting there. I'm like, man, this isn't going to do me much good in getting around with my clothes. So that's where the aspect of choice comes in for you guys. Is you've got a job to do. You've got requirements. And sometimes you probably get offered things that are, this doesn't really help me. I need to accomplish aspects. Having all of these features, knowing what color it is, how many doors, type of brakes it has. It's nice on my Formula One car, but doesn't do a whole lot about getting me around town to visit customers. What my priorities are is, can I expense it? Is it going to carry my bags? Am I going to die? Uh, not a good option. And uh, you know the music. So obviously, I chose the standard car. This is much like the challenge that CIOs have, and the industry of vendors and what we provide and how we think about it and how we provide it. And that's why I say the first thing I do when I sit down with a customer is I said, "Can you tell me about you?" Because I want to know what you're thinking, what your problems are, and what you need help with. Uh, and what I hear, and it was very consistent this week. I need help managing my costs. You know, open and choice in some aspects is hard to find these days. Uh, and vendors that feel that they've got great control don't want to give you necessarily choice. And there's some aspects of that are driving costs significantly higher than what you would like them to be. I need to modernize my apps. I need to respond faster. I need to be more agile. And this Kubernetes and cloud native thing sounds really cool, but it's a little hard. Can you help me with that? Uh, I like to walk around a lot, so I need big stages. But I got to be secure, right? And I'm challenged every day. I don't want to be the next headline. I got to secure my estate. And there's this little thing that keeps cropping up that my CEO keeps asking about. Can help me with efficiency? Can we lower cost? Can we, be more agile by harnessing AI? What can I do with it? So these are the top 4 things. If I sit down with a customer, I'm going to hear about Broadcom. I'm going to hear about AI. I'm going to hear about security and how they deal with all that. How can we help? So that's what we try to focus on. So let's talk about a little bit what the community has done. Open source is absolutely key in making progress on all of these. And you'll see this a little bit from the history. But open source by itself doesn't solve the problem. If we had all these open source repositories and said, here you go, good luck. It wouldn't be very productive because there's thousands, millions of open source projects out on GitHub. How do you put them together? Which ones work together? What you need is a community ecosystem that puts this together into a usable platform. That the platform is focused on these priorities. And so let's take a little journey on the history of the platform. And I'll try to keep it brief. And unfortunately, I've seen almost every platform transition, but I didn't see this one. So, very early on, everything was there were platforms, but they were very rigid, strict, one vendor, everyone's very unique. Didn't accomplish a lot in agility, cost control, etc. But over time, after we've gone through the mainframe era, the mini computer era, the client server era, there was some hints of maybe industry collaborating. And Unix, this sounds great. Let's all start with a common base. And it didn't take very long where there were 10, 20 Unix distributions and not one worked with another. Because everybody kind of took their approach, the proprietary approach. Oh, this is a great kernel. Let me add my secret sauce to it and keep it secret. So costs continued to be uncontrolled and high. And so what happened? Tux was born and was the start of this revolution of a new platform and a new way to do software, and really revolutionized, how we build software, how we collaborate across the industry, and think about how to build software to solve these problems, solve them faster, more innovative, and more cost-effective. And you can see the results in the forecasts of what Linux has done. And now it gave us that first enterprise platform that was consistent and portable and common and didn't necessarily lock me in. If I was on one and that vendor disappeared or wasn't having a good relationship with one vendor, I had an option to work with another vendor or do it myself. So, we can see, from an application standpoint today, the world runs on Linux. And that was a great stepping stone. But now we've moved on. We've gone through the internet boom, the virtualization boom, the cloud era emerged, and companies started to realize, I need to be more agile. I need another platform. I need another. Oh, I forgot to talk about a customer. You guys. Cemex. So I always try to include, well, don't just talk about the products. Show me what they're doing. What's the result of using them? So Cemex, a company that you guys are probably all familiar with, by standardizing on Linux, they actually run multiple Linux, multiple data centers, on-prem, in the cloud, multiple countries, and they've got better performance, lower cost, and more agility. And that's what you guys want to see. So back to the cloud era. So now we need more agility. I need a modern platform that understands the requirements that I have to be able to move faster. As we went through the 2000s, a lot of disruption was occurring, both technologically, geopolitically, economically, and people needed to change rapidly. And that's where Kubernetes started to come in. Containers started to come along, and you had unique implementations of containers, but it didn't have all the flexibility that you needed, and it was controlled by too few people. And fortunately, Google was very benevolent in offering us a starting point and say, here, let's open this up and let's collaborate. And so through the years, 8,000 contributing companies from more than 44 countries and 77,000 individuals with their fingerprints on Kubernetes. So the impact of that, in North America now, 65% of companies are either fully implemented and all on board cloud native first, or on the journey, materially on the journey. And everybody we talked to this week were at some point along. Some full on and a large portion of their business now running on Kubernetes in a cloud native manner, and some at the very beginning of their journey, and wanting help and understanding, and are there peers? Who's done this? Has somebody gone before me that I can learn from? And the beauty is, yes, it's a collaborative community. It's very open. We're welcoming, right? How many people are fully kind of all in and have material amount of business running in production today on cloud native? A few, come on, yeah, it's good. How many are like foot in, toe in the water, trying it? Is water warm? Just getting started. And I think that's the beauty of this forum, is the networking and the collaboration. And if you're not sure, somebody has probably hit the problem that you're about to encounter. So I encourage, take advantage of 77,000 contributors. take advantage of the 65% of people that have it in production, that have the scars of adoption. Kubernetes, initially very powerful, very complex. And as a community, I think what we're really focused on right now is how do we just continue to make it easier? How do we continue to expand the ecosystem? How do we work on the cost and bring that down? How do we work on the agility of delivering modern applications faster? How do we ensure the security? Because Kubernetes, if you haven't gotten this far yet, absolutely disrupts your current security strategies. And you need new tools, new methodologies to secure that ecosystem. So take advantage of your peers and the community in doing such. I thought, how appropriate. A company that does shipping or provides software to companies that do shipping of containers. And what did they accomplish in a full rollout? So these guys are all in. They're here in production. They've got all the scars, but now they've got all the benefits. 75% less time to deploy a baseline for a new shipping company and a new ship than what they had in the previous architectures. Tremendous gain. Minimizes R&D effort, and most importantly, that first CIO priority. Are you saving me money? Are you helping me lower cost? And cost comes in many factors. Cost comes with your infrastructure. Can I choose the right infrastructure for the job that I've got at hand? Do you want to run in the cloud? Do you want to run on-prem? Do you have some edge computing you want to do? Do you want to run on a mainframe? Do you want it on an ARM server? You have the flexibility to deploy it and have a common experience across the entire ecosystem. Very unique capability and not locked into any one way. And if you don't like the way one vendor does it, it is finally the most portable application domain that we've ever had. I worked through this hybrid cloud model that we worked through in the 2000s. And let me tell you, portability in a hybrid cloud environment was hard. And we never really achieved hybrid cloud because the cloud vendors wanted you to operate their way. And what Kubernetes allows you to do is to operate your way, one way, regardless of where you put it. And so that's a huge opportunity from a people efficiency standpoint. You don't have to learn 6 or 7 different ways to do things. You can do it one way, wherever you need it deployed, on whatever scale you need it deployed. So tremendous opportunity, and Danilak has definitely taken advantage of that. So the key attributes of a platform. Open and enterprise ready. I need the flexibility to be open, to make choices that fit my needs, but I absolutely need it to be enterprise ready. What is enterprise ready? I need it to be up 7 by 24, in today's world especially, right? 7 by 24 by 365. When's that one window that the business owner gives you on New Year's Eve, when rather than being out in party, you can go in and do an update on New Year's Eve for 2 hours, right? So you got to be up all the time. That's what enterprise ready is all about. And being able to scale. Security, right? It will always be a top 3 CIO priority. And a platform needs to have that through the ecosystem. And then finally, easy and cost effective. The underlying open source might not be easy, but through collaboration, we can build a platform that helps deliver and simplify the consumption of that and make it cost effective. So what's next? Are we done? Go home, kick our feet up, have a cold one, and say we've accomplished what we needed to accomplish. We have a platform. Well, there's another problem that everybody's facing right now. Because throughout this thing, I haven't other than on slide 1. I haven't mentioned AI much. If you've spent much time using the tools and the technology, it's not necessarily easy, certainly not cost effective. It's not secure. So I think we've got a job in front of us as communities and consumers in the next generation. AI is exploding, and we're being tasked with, take advantage of it. How do we take advantage of it? Where's the ROI is the big question. 92% of companies are committed to investing more. Only 44% of POCs actually were successful and were moved into production. That's not good enough, because that's a lot of lost money and time. And 1% believe their investments are actually returning material ROI. So right now, the ecosystem lacks trust, consistency, and it's an inability to scale due to technology limitations and costs. It's one thing you get the prototype running and you're like, oh man, this looks really good. What's the cost per compute cycle of a GPU these days? Not good. And so that quickly eats into the savings that you got. So it might be, hey, this is a great productivity boost. And I saved, 3 headcounts worth of time so I can get more done. And it cost me 4 times what it did, what I gained. And so we've got to improve on that. So that's the challenge for us, right? For open source to power the next platform, the AI platform. And I've just put a couple of logos up here, just as there are thousands, right? And new open source projects emerging every day that are working on some aspect of these problems. Now, for a while, there's going to be some churn and discomfort as we kind of sort out which ones work well, which ones were a great idea, but this one's not quite right. How do they integrate with each other? How do they become a platform? That's going to take time. And it takes collaboration of us to work together to test it, to build things, to bring it out to the user community, for you guys to try it, give us feedback. Good idea, but I don't think so, right? That's the feedback we want to get. And so how can we iterate rapidly to have an impact? That's the key. So very quickly on the last couple items here, and then I'll wrap it up and hand it over to my colleague. So the key principles of open source, that many of you are familiar with, but just to remind and reinforce, it's about a license and making sure that things are open, right? The license should tell me what I shall not, what are you restricted from, or how are you restricted from restricting access to keep things open. The license must allow certain things. And the license provides oversight into what you are allowed to do and where you are allowed to restrict or dictate. And then the key results that we've demonstrated or talked about here are the communities and the ecosystems collaborating. This is the huge benefit. It's got to be an ecosystem because all these pieces have to work together. Like I said, if you just go out and say, I want to just, pull open source from the communities, that's a challenge. We've got to collaborate together to kind of turn these into a platform. Things need to be transparent. And with transparency, we can collaborate and work on security. Find the issues quicker rather than it being in a closed, hidden box that's hard to find. And then when it does come out, it's got massive implications that you don't want to be experiencing. And then no lock-in and ongoing sustainability. And if we accomplish all these, then we deliver innovation faster to enable you to tackle your problems. So with that, as I've wrapping up here, open source is the platform of choice. You guys have a choice, and working with the vendors that are here, with SUSE, we are completely committed to open source. Everything we deliver is open source, and we've got a lot of projects that really push that and enforce that. We believe very heavily in the licenses and work every day to protect them, and work with the community vendors and with you guys as customers to advance that. So with that, I'm going to introduce Brian and let him come on and tell us just a little bit about the portfolio.
Thank you, Brent. Very good presentation. Can you hear me? Bueno, perdón. El switcheo del lenguaje es un poquito complicado. Bueno, precisamente yo vengo a hablarles un poco de portafolio. Ok, aquí, perdón, se me muevo mucho por acá. Bueno, aquí en SUSE hacemos cerca de 4 cosas, pero 2 cosas son fundamentales, ¿ok? La primera cosa es que nosotros hemos creado históricamente Linux durante 32 años y ahora nos enfocamos en poder crear y manejar muchos de esos Linux, ya que ahora existen diferentes distribuciones hoy en día, ¿ok? Entonces nosotros nos encargamos de crear el Linux y manejar muchos, ¿ok? De la misma forma, existen diferentes distribuciones de Kubernetes y ahora nosotros nos encargamos de crear Kubernetes con Rancher, ¿ok? Pero nuestra plataforma permite administrar múltiples de estos clústeres y sabores de Kubernetes, ¿ok? Lo que nos da pauta para hacer un pequeño roadmap en el que estas 2 plataformas, como comentaba Brent, son el parteaguas para poder crear tecnologías todavía mucho más complejas y que ayudan a los mercados hoy en día. Por ejemplo, tenemos la parte de Edge, cómputo en el borde, todo lo que tenga que ver con barcos, plataformas de petróleo, satélites, drones, carros, etcétera, pues todo se está basando en lo que es Linux y Cloud Native, ¿ok? Y de la misma forma, como comentaba Brent, que lo que ha sucedido es que Linux ha hecho que nosotros empecemos adoptando los contenedores también han impulsado que adoptemos lo que es Linux, pero agregaría la parte de AI en que la inteligencia artificial está haciendo que adoptemos la contenerización y la contenerización está haciendo que adoptemos las plataformas de AI. ¿Por qué? Porque necesitamos una plataforma bastante resiliente, escalable y flexible para construir todo el procesamiento que necesitamos en los AIs, ¿no? Necesitamos el LLMs, el RAG, inteligencia artificial generativa, etcétera. Entonces nosotros como SUSE les apoyamos en poder hacer esto y tenemos una distinción de todos los productos que están en el Cloud Native, cerca de todos los soportamos para que ustedes puedan crear estas 2 plataformas, ¿ok? Aquí les quisiera platicar un poquito acerca de lo que es nuestro portafolio. No es todo el portafolio, sino aquí es más platicarles sobre las modificaciones que hemos tenido en algunos productos. Y es que, por ejemplo, Rancher Prime, que es nuestra plataforma que orquesta Kubernetes, si Kubernetes es la plataforma que orquesta contenedores, podríamos decir que Rancher Prime es la plataforma que orquesta el orquestador, los orquestadores, que es Kubernetes, ¿ok? Le hemos puesto el nombre de Rancher Prime, SUSE Rancher Prime, perdón. Después tenemos lo que es Harvester, que es una solución, todas estas soluciones son open source, by the way. Tenemos Harvester, que es nuestra solución que permite la convivencia de lo que es máquinas virtuales con contenedores, ¿ok? Nosotros entendemos que perfectamente virtualización no se va a acabar, vamos a seguir usando virtualización, pero viene contenerización. Entonces, vamos a poder utilizar ambas plataformas con esta solución. Después tenemos lo que es Longhorn, ¿ok? Ayer me daba un clavado en el CNCF Landscape y al parecer Longhorn es uno de los proyectos principales ahora para administración de almacenamiento de Kubernetes, ¿ok? Ha evolucionado tanto que, pues bueno, me complace decirles que ahora se ha convertido en un estándar de la industria y bueno, ahora lo llamamos nosotros SUSE Storage, ¿ok? ¿Qué podemos hacer con SUSE Storage? Podemos administrar los volúmenes de Kubernetes de una manera más sencilla, podemos replicarlos varias veces, podemos tener alta disponibilidad y además podemos tener lo que es respaldos y backups, ¿ok? Después tenemos lo que es StackState, ¿ok? StackState era una compañía de Países Bajos, de código cerrado, que nos permite observar todo un ambiente de infraestructura, incluido Kubernetes. Nosotros la compramos como SUSE y como nuestro ADN es 100% open source, la convertimos hacia open source y creamos lo que es SUSE Observability. Además de poder observar lo que son logs, métricas y trazas, vamos a poder observar lo que son tiempos, cambios, procesos, topología, relaciones, utilizando lo que es esta plataforma, ¿ok? Después tenemos lo que es New Vector, mismo caso, era una compañía closed source para seguridad de containerización. Nosotros la compramos y creamos lo que es SUSE Security, tanto Observability como Security son add-ons de SUSE Rancher Prime. Y lo que nos permite SUSE Security es poder asegurar lo que es el tiempo de ejecución de los contenedores y también toda la cadena de suministro que contienen ellos, es decir, los clústeres de Kubernetes, el sistema operativo, los nodos, etcétera, ¿ok? Después tenemos lo que es ATIP. No me pregunten qué significaba eso, porque ni yo mismo me lo aprendí en su momento, pero ATIP es una plataforma que da diseños validados de infraestructuras cloud native para este tipo de compañías de telco, telecomunicaciones. Todo lo que tenga que ver con CNFs, VNFs, ¿ok? Tiene que ver con SUSE Edge for Telco y bueno, eso es lo que hacemos nosotros. Después tenemos lo que es SUSE Linux Enterprise Micro, este se llama ahora SUSE Linux Micro, que es nuestro producto de sistema operativo ligero. Y aquí podemos crear lo que son cargas de trabajo para el Edge y es totalmente inmutable, ¿ok? Y finalmente, pero no menos importante, lo que es SUSE Manager, nuestro caballito de batalla para poder realizar lo que es automatización, gestión de parches, gestión de encadenados de parches, seguridad, jardeneo, pues bueno, ahora se llama SUSE Multi-Linux Manager, ¿ok? Aquí, rápidamente, un anuncio de 4 productos. Tenemos lo que es SUSE Rancher for SAP Applications. SAP, cuando empezó a mover cargas de trabajo hacia la nube, empezó a darse cuenta que no todo lo que era SAP se podía mover porque había cargas de trabajo no SAP. Entonces, SAP crea algo llamado Edge Integration Cell para interconectar lo que son sistemas SAP y no SAP, y adivinan con qué lo hace, con Kubernetes, ¿ok? Entonces nosotros, como SUSE, vemos que Edge Integration Cell no estaba como muy enterprise ready, muy production grade, y entonces lo que hicimos fue añadir nuestro producto de Slash for SAP, más todo el Rancher Suite para poder gestionar el Edge Integration Cell, ¿ok? Después tenemos lo que es la certificación de T-, es decir, ahora podemos correr todo este core bancario de T- en SUSE Rancher Prime. Esto nada más con la finalidad de que ustedes pueden utilizar la plataforma totalmente certificada, ¿ok? Para darle esa innovación a los bancos que necesitan cerca de flexibilidad, escalabilidad y un tiempo de innovación y go-to-market mucho más agresivo, ¿ok? Y finalmente, termino con estos 2 productos, lo que es SUSE Rancher Prime for Virtual Clusters. Nos dimos cuenta que bCluster no era una plataforma como muy flexible y que seguía el paradigma del uso de Rancher Prime, que es poder gestionar y crear clústeres de Kubernetes de una manera muy sencilla, ¿ok? Creamos nosotros un producto que se llama K3K, ustedes lo pueden visitar en GitHub, para poder hacer lo que es clústeres virtuales utilizando Kubernetes, ¿ok? Y finalmente tenemos lo que es SUSE Private Registry, ¿ok? Nosotros siempre encomendábamos a los clientes que utilizaran algún container registry que ya está en el CNCF landscape, como lo es Harbor y JFrog y algunos otros de la nube, pero bueno, los clientes nos pedían una línea de base, así es que terminamos creando SUSE Private Registry basado en Harbor, que nos da tema de autenticación, tema de replicación y tema de seguridad bajo el escaneo de vulnerabilidades, ¿ok? Y eso es lo que les quería comentar en mi breve presentación. Muchas gracias a todos y bienvenidos nuevamente al evento.